And
Hello.
we're live. Hello, everybody. So today we are talking about A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. And it just so happens that Chloe and I were both able to see the movie before the live show. So we'll probably talk a little bit about the movie as well. I am really excited. Do you want me to go ahead and start talking? Oh, I remembered this time to put Chloe's YouTube link in the description. So definitely go and subscribe to her if you guys are not already. And if you guys have, I should probably turn my sound off on my phone.
Get us
If
to
you
that
guys,
1,000 subscribers.
yes, Chloe's trying to get to 1K. She could do it. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, definitely put them in the chat, which should be that way, so we can all discuss during the live show. And do you want to go ahead and talk about my thoughts so you can tweet and things? Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm probably gonna cough a bit. So I gave Monster Calls by Patrick Ness a 5 out of 5 stars. I thought this book was beautiful and like heart-wrenching, and I cried like a baby, and just the imagery of this novel was just amazing, and the writing was just, I can't say enough great things about this book. I absolutely loved it. It was definitely a 5-star book for me, and I enjoyed every part of it. I can't think of like the correct English word for it right now, but like things meaning other things. Does that make sense? What am I trying to say? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Kind of.
Like when, I don't know. I'll have examples when we actually talk about it, because I don't want to get into spoilers right now, but I'm sure one of you guys will know what I'm talking about when we get into that part.
Okay. I had to pull up my Goodreads so I can see what I rated it because I don't remember. Like I read this like really early in December, so okay, I found it. Yeah, that's not the live show. This is the live show. Okay, so I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a very fast-paced novel, which was good, and I really liked the mixture of words and story mixed with the pictures, and I thought that added a really nice visual element to it. It's very rare cry, and I did not cry during this. I teared up during the movie, but it was really good. I've never read a Patrick Ness novel before, but I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I cried like a baby, but I'm a crier. Like, I don't want to give, we're not in the spoilery section yet, so I don't want to say why I cried, but I cried like a lot. It was so sad at the end, and I don't know. I guess I was kind of hoping the majority of the novel for a happy ending, but the way that it ended, I was happy with, and I felt like it was true to the story and true to real life, because, I mean, other than I feel like this is kind of like magical realism, a little bit. Like, there's the element of the monster, and, was Connor, I think it was his name, right?
Yeah.
Connor is basically dreaming about this monster, but there are certain things in the beginning of the novel, especially, that make you think that he might actually not be dreaming, like the leaves and the berries of the yew tree being in his room after he wakes up from the dream. So,
all right, let's see. Go to the chat real quick. Elizabeth Green says, I ugly cried, especially in the last quarter of the book.
Yes.
And then your brother Daniel says hi and that he loves you.
Oh, I love you too, Daniel. Daniel and my mom always count on their being there for my live shows. They're my biggest fans. So, oh, you already said that. Well, okay, let's start with your notes. Did you were writing down notes before you started? What do you got?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess now, for any of you guys who have not read it, now that we've talked about our feelings a little bit, this is going to be going into the spoilery section of the live show. So if you have not read A Monster Calls, or you don't want to be spoiled or anything like that, this is the time to exit. But if you don't care about the spoilers, or if you've already read the book, then we will continue.
Stick around.
Yes.
Well, I only wrote down 4 things for notes since I did them 5 minutes ago. But I've already said like 3 of them.
Is there anything you can elaborate on? maybe.
I mean, I haven't talked about the movie was very true to the book, but I don't want to start talking about the movie yet.
Yeah, neither do I. Let's talk about, I feel like I kind of want to talk a little bit about the, like, other characters, because I mean, the main characters in this book are obviously Connor and his mom, and for those of you who don't know, his mom is dying of cancer, and I had no idea. Like, I went into this book, I had a feeling this is the type of book that you need to go into not really knowing anything, and so that's exactly what I did. I had no idea. You know, I knew that this boy dreamed of a monster, and that was basically all I knew, but I had no idea that his mom was dying of cancer. And so those, I feel like, are the two main characters in the story, but there also are other characters like Connor's grandmother and Connor's father and Connor's ex-best friend and the boy at school who bullies him. And so I kind of want to talk about those characters a little bit.
I did notice, and this also brings in the movie as well, while it was very true to the book, I noticed we had practically every single character except for his friend, and I don't even remember what his friend's name is.
I don't either. I feel like she was not a very big part of the novel.
I'm the one that normally remembers names, not so why am I forgetting?
Yeah, I don't remember. Was it Lily? I'm just like flipping through.
I'm looking now.
And trying to find.
Yeah, it's Lillian. Lily, yeah.
Okay. So, like, I don't know. I kind of feel bad for Lily because I think she had, like, Connor's best interest at heart, but I understand why, you know, Connor just doesn't talk to her anymore. But it was like their relationship as a whole was really sad because I feel like Connor really needed a best friend to relate to and be there for him and stuff like that, and he didn't have that because Lily basically told everybody and their brother that his mom was dying of cancer, which is not cool.
Yeah, I think we didn't really see her much throughout the novel. And the only big part she played was in telling the whole school that his mom was dying.
Yeah.
So I can see why she isn't really necessary for the novel to continue.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think the main reason why she was put in as a character is to further show how alone Connor was. Because, like, what is he, 10 years old, you think?
12.
12? Okay, so you have to think that a 12-year-old boy realistically would have one friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, which is something that I didn't like about the movie, that Lily wasn't incorporated in some way. But the fact that a 12-year-old boy wouldn't have any friends whatsoever is a little bit unrealistic. So I think that, you know, her point of being a character in the book was to show how alone he is, that he doesn't have anybody. He's bullied, he's lost his one best friend, he's losing his mother, he's not close to his grandmother, his dad moved away to America, and this boy is literally, if he loses his mother, he's alone in the world.
And I know you said it earlier, as far as the genre of this book is concerned, to me, it seems to be a mixture of contemporary and fantasy at the same time, which I think you said, what did you say, magical realism earlier?
Yeah, magical realism is basically
and I don't think I've ever actually really read a book like that before. I don't think I have, except for maybe like Every Day.
Yeah, Every Day would be considered magical realism.
Mm-hmm.
I read a couple of magical realism books, like The Strange and Beautiful Stars of Ava Lavender is magical realism, and Gloria O'Brien's History of the Universe is magical realism. I cannot remember the name of that author right now, but Ariel Bassett is a huge fan of her, and I just can't remember her name for the life of me, and it's bothering me. But anyway, I've only read a couple of them, and they really have to be done right for me to enjoy them. But this one was definitely done.
Because this one was very real.
Yeah.
As far as the contemporary aspect of it.
Yeah, and like you have to think is that the yew tree, which is the monster, we'll explain that a little bit, I guess, for some people who might not know. The yew tree is a tree in like that's near Connor's house that basically at night comes alive at night and comes to him in kind of like a dream, but in the morning, a couple of times when he would wake up from the dream, there would be yew leaves on the floor of his bedroom, or there would be berries from the yew tree on the floor of his bedroom. So it's like, it really draws into question, is this really happening? And I think in this type of story, because there are legitimately yew berries and yew leaves on the floor of his bedroom, that this is something that's really happening to him, which makes it magical realism and not just contemporary about a boy who's having dreams about a yew tree monster, you know?
And weren't those berries in those leaves after he had his nightmare too? Because the nightmare plays a big part of the story.
Yeah, because I think from what I understood, and that was a little blurry to me, but the way that I understood it is that he would have the nightmare about losing his mom, about his mom on the edge of a cliff and him dropping her. He would have that nightmare about his mom dying, falling off the cliff, and then the monster would come to him after he woke up from that nightmare. But the way that it kind of reads in the book is that that's still a nightmare, and then he wakes up, but there's the yew berries and the yew leaves on the floor of his bedroom. Is this really happening? You have to question that.
And the see, when he had the nightmare and he would wake up and there would be the berries and the leaves around before we were introduced to the monster, that was kind of like the hints leading up to the monster, I think.
Yeah. Well, actually, I thought that we didn't see the yew berries or the yew leaves until after we met the monster.
I think we saw them. Did we see them after? I could have sworn we saw them after the nightmare too.
Maybe. I mean, you might be right. I don't. The beginning is a little blurry. Exactly what happened.
Because the nightmare plays a big part with the monster and his reason for being there coming to a close.
Yeah.
Looking over at the chat real quick. Two different things from Elizabeth. She said she thought the monster's voice was lovely and she had so many favorite quotes. I'm assuming voice from the movie.
Movie, yeah. What's his name? Liam Neeson. Amazing.
Liam Neeson is awesome. And then the other one was, it was different reading a book where the reader truly knows the ending from the beginning of the book. I was kind of hoping at the end of this book we were going to get like some sort of like miracle drug or something.
Yeah, especially when we find out that the last ditch effort drug to cure her is a medicine that comes from the yew tree. Like it was all a big circle and it came back around, and I was really, really hoping that she would make it and that we kind of got like a happy ending and the yew tree cured her. But then again, by the end of the story, I was highly satisfied and it made sense. Like, you know, the monster basically taught Connor that life isn't fair and you're not always going to get your happy ending and you're not always going to get what you want, and there's not some monster in your backyard that you can ask to cure your mom and he just does it. That's, you know, it's not the way life works, basically, which is another thing that I really enjoyed about the stories was, you know, the monster teaching Connor, you know, these different things about life and the stories not ending how you expect them to. And that was a big part. Something else that I wanted to talk about too was the different stories that the monster told Connor, because I loved those. I thought that those were like, is it allegory? Is that the word I'm looking for? Like, what is allegory? I feel like there is an English word when you take English. It's been a while since I was in high school, you guys. That like that's like a story that represents something. Hold on.
A story that represents something. Wouldn't that be symbol?
It's a metaphor. Allegory, metaphor.
Metaphor.
Like it's like the stories are a metaphor for life or an allegory for life.
I feel like that's more of a symbol than it is a metaphor. A metaphor is a comparison.
An allegory is a metaphor whose vehicle may be a character, place, or event representing real-world issues and occurrences. Oh. So yeah, I think allegory is the right word I'm looking for. I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask an English major or something like that.
I want to move over to like, this is more of a comparison for the books and the movie, and it kind of goes with what we were talking about, how we like know the ending. I personally, at the end of this novel, didn't really enjoy the ending because I felt we were kind of just left there. like the reader assumes that his mom has passed away. With the movie, do you remember at the end of the movie when it where it was right after he had seen his mom for the last time, and then the screen went to black right before it went to the other scene? I thought that was the ending, and I was like, wow, they are just seriously ending it exactly like the book. But then it went to the extra scene where he's now living with his grandma. I like that we had sort of a sense of closure with it.
Yeah.
Because it was more closure than the novel gave.
Yeah, because literally the last page of the book, it says, "But not this moment," the monster whispered, still close, "not just yet." And so it's like, and it was at 12:07, the time when the monster always visited him. So it's like, if it's not this moment at 12:07, when is it? Like maybe 12:07 is symbolizing the moment where Connor realizes that he needs to let her go.
Maybe.
Because I really thought by the end of the book at 12:07, the reason why 12:07 was so important when the monster kept coming to him at 12:07 was the fact that that was the time that his mother would die.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize
that much.
I didn't realize that until the last page, that because like it says the very last page, he knew it would come and soon, maybe even this 12:07. So like, you know, because what, there's like two 12:07s in one day. And, you know, so once I read that line, I knew that she was dying at that moment, right then, at 12:07 that day. But then, you know, a couple lines down when the monster says, "But not this moment," it's like, well, what is a moment? 1 second? Is it this 12:07? Is it tomorrow's 12:07? Like, you know, so yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's more left open, but I'm pretty sure that she died in the book, you know? Like,
yeah,
nothing else was working. None of the medicines were working.
And the thing with this book is, and this is, you don't see this much with books being adapted, well, YA books especially being adapted to film, is that Patrick Ness wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
For this, and which was helpful because it stayed very true to the book, and the only difference was, for one, Lily not being in it, and the thing is, Lily wasn't really necessary for the movie.
Yeah.
And then adding that extra scene gave us a sense of closure, and I think that was better for a film, because with the film being a visual aspect as opposed to reading it, I feel like it would be necessary for us to have closure with it.
Yeah, it's better to know that she was gone and that was the end. Yeah, I agree. And then like, I loved the ending too of the movie where they added the extra bit and he is in the room and he's looking at his mother's drawings, and like it was a really, really good ending.
And then we now know that at one point she had called on the monster too.
Yes.
I thought that was a great addition.
The whole, I mean, and you see that a lot throughout the movie. Like there's just little bits and pieces. Like there was one point during the movie where the mother says, "The yew tree is our friend. You know, we're going to use the yew tree for my medicine, but not that yew tree, because that yew tree is our friend."
Yeah.
Right. And I think like that's kind of, now that I've seen the movie, I think that that's kind of hinted in the book, because she keeps talking about the yew tree over and over and over again. And I feel like that's more apparent now, that obviously she had called on the monster at some point in her life. But the movie just made it a lot more apparent with subtle differences.
Yeah. And I think it also goes back to the fact that a movie is a visual thing. So if you're viewing something, you probably want more closure than you would if you were reading it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I want to talk quickly about the bully at his school.
Was his name Harry? I think it was Harry.
I think so too. That sounds about right. So in the book, he was just a bully, right? He was the normal bully, whatever. But in the movie, did you get some homosexual vibe?
No, for the most part, I saw him as the the bully, and that's to me what he was
It
representative of.
it just really felt like every single time that he looked back at Connor in the classroom, it wasn't like a look of I hate you, I'm gonna beat you up at lunch. It was a look of, and Connor was ignoring him every single time. Connor wasn't paying attention to him. He was drawing, he was ignoring him blatantly, he was pretending to listen to the teacher, he was doing something other than looking at Harry. But Harry was constantly looking at him, and every time Harry would look away, it was like he was disappointed. Like he was trying to get his attention. And then when he's in the alley and they're like beating him up and he was like, don't touch him, only I'm allowed to touch him. It just had this really big homosexual vibe to me. Like I'm like the whole time I'm viewing that relationship, I was just like, this boy obviously has a crush on Connor. Like it was very obvious to me. I don't know.
I personally didn't see it. I more of thought of him turning back and looking at Connor and then turning away disappointed. I thought he more wanted a reaction from Connor and he wasn't getting one.
Yeah. And I mean that could be it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it felt very homosexual to me.
I feel like if it was, then the bullying wouldn't have been as violent as it was.
If
that makes sense?
No, yeah, I think it makes sense. But then again, there was a book that I read about a gay character, and he also had a bully, and you find out like in the middle of the book that him and the bully are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God,
sounds familiar, but I don't know what book it is.
I don't know why I want to say that we read it together, or that. Oh my God, I don't know why.
I don't think we did.
It's like really bothering me, but no, this almost, maybe it's because I read that book and because it was about a main male character who was gay, and there was a guy who was bullying him, and there comes a scene like in the beginning of the book where the boy is in the bathroom and a bully is coming up to him, and basically where it has a feeling of like, oh my God, they're alone in a bathroom, he's about to get beat up by this bully, and then they start kissing. And, it becomes apparent that obviously the bully is gay, and he's bullying this boy just because he doesn't want people to know that he's gay. So I don't know. I mean, they're also 12 years old, so.
Yeah, I don't, because they're 12, that's another reason why I just don't think it's very apparent.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of very gay vibes to me, and it could be, it couldn't be. I just didn't know if that was something that, someone else caught on to.
Looking at the chat real quick, Elizabeth says, I really wish we got to see Connor and Lily resolve their friendship and seeing how Connor dealt with the aftermath of his mother's death. In the book, I wish we had seen how he was dealing with the death of his mother. I feel like we sort of got a little look of it in the movie. By him, seeing these different things that were his mother's.
I think that might have taken away from the meaning of the story. Like the whole meaning of it was Connor admitting that he didn't want his mother to be in pain and that he needed to let her go, and that, coming to the realization that everyone is telling him, his mom and his dad kept telling him, oh, this will work, that'll work, this medicine will work, I'll get better. And he knew, deep down that it wasn't going to work, that she was going to die. But everyone was telling him what he wanted to hear. And, because he was 12, because he's so young, and no one really wanted to be honest with him, even though he knew. But it was the whole entire book's purpose was Connor needing to come to the realization that his mother was going to die and that he needed to let her go, and he needed to be strong. And so I feel like if we saw his reaction to his mother dying, because it's every 12-year-old boy losing his mother is going to act pretty much the exact same way. They're going to be angry, they're going to cry, they're going to be reclusive, something to that effect. And I feel like if we saw that, it might have taken away from it. I don't know. That's just my opinion too. It ended, and we knew she was going to die, and we knew how Connor was going to react to it, but it ended on a good note, with the conclusion being that Connor finally realized that his mother was going to die, and he needed to let her go. which is the whole point of the monster and the stories and all that stuff.
Yeah. So he could tell the truth.
So he could tell the truth that he just wanted her to be out of pain. And that was that scene made me cry so much.
I think it was very well shown in the movie visually as well.
Yeah, it definitely.
I have a lot of movie comparisons because I don't know, I just saw the movie and I read the book like the beginning of December.
Yeah. But I think that oh crap, what was I gonna say? I almost think that him admitting that because basically he meant he wants his mother to die, not because he wants her to die, but because he doesn't want her to be in pain anymore. And that is almost more sad than his mother dying. Like, as a child, a 12-year-old boy, and the only person that he's ever really had consistent in his life is his mother, and him knowing that she's going to die and admitting that he just wants it to be over so that she can be out of pain. It really is more sad than the end and his mother pretty much dying. It was just a little boy having to grow up so fast and admit that is just so sad.
Yeah.
Like, really sad. I don't even know how to explain it more than that. It's just sad. Like, I bawled my eyes out.
Also from Elizabeth in the comments, it's a question and a statement. Did Connor's relationship with his dad tick you off? It made me so mad that he cared more about his new family. In the book, yes. I don't think it was very apparent. Like, they didn't really mention his new family as much in the movie as it was in the book. But in the book, it made me really mad.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that, his dad could have tried harder. Like, I love the moment where they're sitting and they're having lunch and their dad says, I can't take you away from your school and your friends. It wouldn't be fair to you. And he said it wouldn't be, like, he was basically, it wouldn't be fair to me or it wouldn't be fair to you, which is like the truth, because you feel that, his father doesn't want his son impeding on his new family and his new life in America. And, that's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. I have a comment about this. Well, it's not even about this. It's the person who played his dad. I like when he came on screen and I was like, wow, he is hot. Like, just that was my one reaction.
He was a very attractive male. I'm married, so I can't really say much more than that. But he definitely was. I'd never seen him in anything else. Like, his face looks familiar. Like, I've seen him somewhere, but I don't know where.
I looked it up last night because I know I've seen him from something else. Now I'm blanking on it, so I'm gonna look it up again. But he was good looking. I was very surprised at that.
So then what about the relationship with Connor and his grandmother? How did that make you feel?
I feel like his grandma, when you think of a grandma, you think of like warm and like, let's bake some cookies or whatever. Yeah. And she was very, I don't want to say uptight, but she was very like proper and don't touch this and don't touch that. And yeah.
I get that. And like, okay, so I have like 6 grandmothers because I have a stepmom, a stepdad, a mom, a dad, and my dad was adopted. So I have like 5 grandmothers, right? So all of my grandmothers have very different personalities, and one of them is very much like Connor's grandmother. Like, she's very proper, everything is clean in its place, and don't make a mess. And like, so I totally related to that, like not having a grandmother who's warm and baking cookies and all that kind of stuff, because one of my grandmothers is almost exactly like that, and that really sucks. But it is what it is, I guess.
And see, you've met my grandma before. I feel like she's a mixture of, oh, let's bake some cookies, and then the other part is like Connor's grandma.
Yeah, prim and proper and everything in its place, and don't make a mess, and do this and do that, and yeah.
Yeah.
And not that it's always a bad thing. Like, it's just not exactly what most people expect from a grandmother, you know?
Yeah.
Because the majority of my grandmothers are very like, you're my grandchild and I'm going to pamper you and you can have whatever you want and this is grandma's house. I love you. And, you know, like.
This is grandma's house.
But they just, you know, I understand the relationship between Connor and his grandmother because they just don't relate. But there was one thing that his grandmother said, saying that, you know, we do have one thing in common, and that's your mother. And they both did love his mother very, very much. And, you know, that makes sense. I mean, it's her daughter. So,
the scene where she found him at their house, did that happen earlier in the book than it did in the movie? Because I felt like it did.
No. It happened you know, I mean, time-wise, I don't know, but it happened in the order of events were the same. So, like, you know, Connor sits down with his mother and has the talk. The treatment from the yew tree that we were hoping is going to work isn't working, but, you know, and there's no other treatments. Basically having the talk about, like, this is it. I'm going to die. There's no other options. There's no other medicine that we can do. And so he runs away. You know, in the book, his grandmother, he says, I want to go back to my bed. I want to go back to my house. And so his grandmother drives him to the house, says, I'm going to go back to the hospital. I'll pick you up in an hour. And he goes and visits the yew tree. And in the movie, he runs from the hospital to the yew tree as if the hospital was right down the street from his house. You know, so I mean, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
So it's like.
I mean, I just found it in the book. It happened, her finding him asleep under the yew tree happened at the same time it did in the movie. In my mind, I thought it came earlier.
No, yeah, it was the same because like right after he finds her, they go to the hospital, and that's where, you know, he says goodbye to her. Basically, it's the end.
Yeah. What did you think about Sigourney Weaver as the grandma?
I didn't like it.
Really?
I mean, I guess. Well, she's American, is she not? Her accent.
Yeah. Well, she's American, but her mom is British.
I just didn't think that she had a very good accent. And I mean, like, I think the second half of the movie, I really liked her acting. Like, when basically from the time that she finds that he had destroyed the sitting room, and on, you know, like really the only time that we saw her after that was when he destroyed the sitting room, and then at the end where he's like, she's taking him back and forth and his mother's about to die and stuff. But those moments, I think she was really good. But in the beginning where she didn't need to really be serious, I don't know. She just didn't feel very genuine in the beginning of the movie.
I mean, I love Sigourney Weaver, so I was like, this is great. This is awesome.
I do too.
Sigourney Weaver.
I like her as an actress. I just think that her accent was really bad. And I feel like a grandmother should have a really, really thick, deep English accent, and it just wasn't. If you know what I mean? I don't know.
I thought she was great.
Yeah, I mean, the acting was okay, especially in the second half, but I don't know. It wasn't the best for me.
Did you notice in the movie when they're like showing pictures of the mom when she was younger? Did you notice that Liam Neeson was pictured as her dad?
No.
No. It's not like a parallel as in like, oh, her dad went into the yew tree. It's not like that. But
it has to be. They
don't
do it for no reason. They could have easily paid some guy $100 to take a picture and be an extra, basically.
Why pay another extra when you can just get the person you've already paid for who's only using his voice for the film?
No, I can't. I refuse to believe that. It has to mean something.
And the only reason I'm okay, I don't think it meant anything because, for one, it's not said at all in book nor movie. And when I was looking on the IMDb website and app, you can look up like trivia for a certain film or actor. And on the page for A Monster Calls, if you go into the trivia, it says Liam Neeson appears as Connor's grandfather in the photo of Connor's mother as a little girl being carried by her father. That's the only mention of it. There's nothing about saying like, oh, it's this, parallel plot twist.
But if you think that if theoretically, because we were never able to see his mother with the monster. So if we think about it theoretically, and the monster that Connor sees and the monster that his mother sees are the same monster, and they have the same voice, her dad has the same voice as the monster.
Okay, but when you think about it from like...
It has to be.
But
I don't know what the thing is, but it's a thing.
But when you think about it from this way, you said, they can easily, pay an extra to stand in and take some pictures and so on and so forth. Well, yeah, but you can also not have to pay an extra, save money, and just say, hey, can you stand in as, to, take a picture playing the grandfather, since all we're using for you is your voice and nobody's actually physically seeing you in this film.
I feel like I need to ask Patrick Ness. Because I refuse to believe that it's not a thing.
Does he have a Twitter? Because when I try and because normally I tag the authors whenever I'm writing the Once Upon a Read Along posts for Twitter, and I could not find him anywhere. Like the closest thing that came up was Neil Patrick Harris.
I don't know if he's got a Twitter or not. Usually when we talk about big authors like Patrick Ness, I don't even bother tagging them.
I do it anyway. I even do it with Marissa Meyer. I don't care. I have hopes that they'll see it.
All right. So, I wanted to talk about the stories, unless you have something else.
I was going to go to the chat real quick while we were still on those topics.
Yeah.
Okay, we read that one. I think Connor. This is Elizabeth. I think Connor thought that anticipating her death would be worse than his mom's actual death. I think he just really felt bad for wanting her to die.
Yeah.
Just because he wanted the pain to be over.
I mean, anybody would, and even if it's not your parent, you wanting someone to die because you want the pain to be over, just the simple fact of feeling guilty because you want someone to die for whatever the reason, it's just not in human nature, You don't want people to die if you're a sane human being.
Yeah.
That's not a serial killer,
Same person. I think the grandma was trying to take control of something because she was losing her daughter. I think she just didn't want to believe that her daughter was going to die, and I completely agree with what you said with that.
No one wants to believe that their close friend was going to die, It's it's really tough. And a parent should never see a child die. That's really hard.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, It's
And then your mom said, I can't imagine a 12-year-old losing his mother. I would have cried like a baby too.
Me and my mom are the same person. We would have both been bawling our eyes out. I couldn't put my mom through that because she'd be the last 30 minutes of the whole book, she'd just be crying the whole time. Just nonstop.
See, I went to see the movie with my best friend Aaron, and you met Aaron briefly. He was one of the triplets, and he's this guy who's he shows basically no emotion. And we got out of the movie, and we were seeing 2 movies that night. And that was the first one we saw. And he's got out. He's like, I teared up during that, and I was like, you did?
I wonder, Chase. I wonder if my husband teared up, but he's playing video games, so he can't hear me. I don't think he did though. But it was sad. Anyone dying of cancer is the most unfair thing that could happen to a human being, I feel like. Cancer sucks. It's the worst. So okay, the story.
What were you gonna say?
Huh?
What were you gonna say about before we went on that?
Oh, about the stories? I wanted to talk about the 3 stories.
Mm-hmm.
The third story, I feel was a cop-out.
That was the invisible one, right?
About the invisible man.
Yeah.
But I feel it was just, it really wasn't even a story. All the monster said was, there was once a man who was invisible, but he wasn't really invisible. He was just unseen. And the moral of the story was basically if you commit an act to become not invisible, is that worse because of what you did? and now you're not invisible anymore. Everyone sees you, but they see you in a bad light. So what's worse, you being visible and people seeing you in a horrible light, or you being invisible and no one seeing you at all?
Well, here's what I think about the story. Each story is told and is something that happened when the monster came.
Yeah.
Each story. So the first two were stories that happened in the past when the monster was what was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the third story was supposed to be Connor's story and why he was there for Connor.
That makes sense, actually. That makes a lot more sense. I guess I didn't connect the dots.
Because when you think about it, and I specifically saw this in the movie, he told the third story about the invisible boy after the bully told Connor, "I no longer see you."
I no longer see you, yeah.
It happened right after that, so
that makes sense.
it was perfect intersection.
Makes a lot more sense now. I appreciate the third story a little bit now. That was like the worst story that you told, because it really wasn't a story. All you basically said, there was a man who was invisible, and then now he's not.
Yeah, but see, now it makes more sense.
It does make more sense. So, what did you think about the first and or second story?
I mean, I liked all the stories. I think that the way the monster was telling them, to where, we thought, I think it was in the first story was about the prince and the evil queen. The queen should have died.
The evil queen and the prince.
Well, I mean, he also said, though, if she had stayed a queen, she would have done great evil.
But she wasn't evil yet.
I liked all the stories.
Were you expecting them to have the twist that they did?
No. Well, I went into this book blind. Like, even when I suggested that we read it for once upon a read along because of the movie, again, I went into a blind. I didn't know what it was about. So I questioned why the monster was a purpose in this, but now that I've read it, I obviously understand it now.
Yeah, I feel like the first two stories were more about showing that people, because Connor thought something bad, right? He thought that he wanted his mom to die, but that doesn't mean he was a bad person, because he was doing it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I feel like that was the goal of the first two stories. Well, the first one especially, is that someone can do a bad thing or think a bad thought, but that doesn't mean that they are bad. They could even be doing this bad thing or having this bad thought for a good reason. And that was like building up to saying that, Connor, this bad thought is okay to have because you're a good person and because you're having this bad thought for a good reason, basically. And then the second story with the apothecary and him, I'm not really sure how that related to Connor. I honestly want to say that the only reason that story was in there is to kind of like leeway into the fact of, oh, look, the yew tree can be has medicinal purposes, right? I don't really feel like there was any other purpose to that story. Or maybe that, the yew tree could cure somebody, like the Parsons little girls. The yew tree could cure them, but they didn't. But it was the apothecary, so maybe that has some kind of like meaning there. I don't know. I'm not an English major, so I feel like this was there's lots of things that you could really read into this with this story, but a lot of it went over to my head because I'm not an English major.
Are you saying like there's probably like a lot of symbols, maybe?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure that there's so much more than I would have ever caught. Like I know in the movie I started crying when Connor is talking to the monster right before he falls asleep under the yew tree. And he said, I have to go. I have to see my mother. And the yew tree is just telling him to sleep. We'll have time. He's like, yeah, but I have to go see my mother. And in the yew tree, the monster said, don't worry, we will both see her tonight. And I took that as because the yew tree basically said it was more apparent in the book than it was the movie, but he basically says that I am the earth. I am nature. I am, all of these things. And I feel like if she dies and she is one with nature now. Like her body is buried in the earth. You know, him saying we will both see her tonight was basically like confirming that she was going to die tonight, but it's okay. Sleep and rest. We have time. Right? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. At the beginning of the book, when we're first introduced to the monster, were you kind of surprised at how like violent the monster seemed?
Oh, sorry, it came
And then
for some reason. But
okay.
no, yeah, I was, but I think by the end of the movie I got it because, you know, the monster's job is to basically make Connor understand that life isn't fair and nothing can be fixed with a magic wand, and, you know, understand that you might be doing something bad or thinking something bad, but it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Like, I feel like it's just like a reality check, the monster. You know, and reality is not always pretty and it might be violent, and, you know, so yeah, in the beginning I was surprised, but by the end of the book it made more sense in the movie.
Yeah, because when I first like heard about this book and everything, even before like we like thought about having it as a monthly read, I didn't think this was as sad as a book as it actually is. I thought it was more like a scary like Halloween type book.
Yeah, same.
And then, you know, now I'm surprised at how wrong I was.
Yeah, I was.
It's still good though.
Yeah, I feel like. And see, in the back of the book, it really doesn't explain that either. It says the monster showed up after midnight, as they do, but it isn't the monster Connor's been expecting. The one from the nightmare he's had nearly every night since his mother started her treatments. The one with the darkness and the wind and the screaming. This monster is something different, something ancient, something wild, and it wants the truth. So yeah, it really seems like, you know, obviously the treatments part, I guess if I had read the back, I might have guessed that she had cancer, but you know, it really does seem like the book is more focused on the nightmare and the scary that the monster is, and, you know, it kind of being like a spooky, scary book than what it actually was.
Looking at the chat again. The next 3 comments are from Elizabeth. Before I started reading about it, I honestly thought it was going to be a children's horror novel about being afraid of monsters. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought about it. The second story was about people aren't strictly good or evil, that people are somewhere in between. And then
yeah, he said that. The monster said that.
And then the second story was also about how important believing is. I feel like if this novel had a happier ending where the mother actually lived, I feel like then the entire story would be about how important believing is, not just the second story in the novel.
Yeah, it would have more of like a happy tone than a bad one than it did. What do you know about Siobhan Dowd, the book that like the idea came?
I know that she was originally had this idea and was going to write this, or she started it and never finished it, I don't think.
Yeah,
I think.
She died of breast cancer.
Yeah, she died of cancer.
I thought that was really interesting that, you know, she thought of this, and I'm like wondering where that came from. Like, did she think of this because of her battle with breast cancer? Did she have children? I don't know, maybe.
I have no idea. I just when I saw that it was inspired by an idea by Siobhan Dowd, I looked it up, I believe, or maybe it was somewhere in the book. Desiree came on, and she says, "Look at all those pop figures." Yes.
Yeah,
and there's more that you can't even see on the other side too. I have a problem.
All right. So, do you have anything else on your thing?
No, we went through all the notes.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got. Unless you have anything else to say.
No, I'm yawning though.
All right, so we'll go into final thoughts, and then Chloe's favorite part of the live show is talking about next month.
Yes, because it's something. It's like, yeah, this is my job. Besides, like running the Twitter, which I do anyway.
So again, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was beautiful and magical. And after talking about it with Chloe, I love it even more. And it's heartbreaking, and it was so good, and I just loved it so much. And it was a really quick read, and I loved everything about this book. It was amazing. And if you haven't read it, you need to go read it.
Does it make you want to pick up more Patrick Ness novels?
It does. It does.
I know he wrote one book. The rest of us just live here, and I think
I
that's
did read that. I
read that.
I forgot that I read that. Yes, because
isn't that contemporary?
Yes. Well, it's about a group of kids who live in a world with extra special kids. It's like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the chosen ones. It's like a book about the chosen ones, but it's not about the chosen ones.
Oh, okay.
It's about the other normal kids. So it's from the perspective of the normal kids in a world where there are kids who are special and chosen and trying to save the world and all that BS.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't impressed,
Mm-hmm.
but it was his first book that he's done like that. The rest of them are more closer to this, like The Ocean at the End of the Lane. No, The Ocean at the End of the Lane
He
is
didn't write that. That was Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman. I get him confused with Neil Gaiman too. So, what else has Patrick Ness written?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
I'll look it up. You give your final thoughts.
Oh, okay. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was very fast-paced, and I enjoyed the mixture of text and pictures, which I think is a great inclusion for novels. It reminds me of Brian Selznick, like The Invention of Hugo Cabret and Wonderstruck and all those novels that he's written. As far as the movie is concerned, it is one of the better book-to-movie adaptations. It's very true to the book, and and that does have to do with the fact that Patrick Ness wrote the screenplay as well as the book, but I think it worked out perfectly. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I will probably pick up more Patrick Ness novels now.
So Patrick Ness wrote the Chaos Walking trilogy, which is
Chaos Walking,
The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and Monsters of Men.
I get that mixed up with The Monstromologist, which I don't remember who wrote that.
He wrote More Than This, which is the one that has like that black and white cover. Can you see?
Oh yeah.
And then The Rest of Us Just Live Here. And then a couple of like other novels that looks like he published before. Oh, he wrote a short story in the Doctor Who 50th anniversary shorts and some other like stuff that's not as well known.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, he's got one book that only has 1 rating, so I don't know. Just stuff that must have been from before he was traditionally published that might not be as popular. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Next month now?
Yes, next month.
Oh, well, this month, actually, since we're in January already. The January book of the month is Ever the Hunted by Aaron Summerhill. I always want to say Summerhill.
Me too.
And I heard from Emma Books that this is actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Mm-hmm. I think.
And I don't know. I'm getting like, I almost said Shadowhunters. I'm getting some Shadow Queen vibes just from what I read that this book is about. And give me 1 second to look at a calendar. I can tell you when our live show is. And our live show is going to be Sunday, February 5th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Elizabeth's channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Sorry.
It's okay. And I believe this is her debut novel, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is her debut novel, and it's fantasy, and I'm excited. I love this cover.
I know. The cover is just freaking gorgeous. I think it was on my favorite covers of 2016 because I believe that was published in 2016.
It was published right at the end.
Yeah, late 2016.
On the 27th of December.
Yes. So I'm really excited for our January book of the month.
Yeah. And we have lots of exciting books planned for the first half of this year, and we've started planning for the second half.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys, I don't have the link right now, but we do have a Goodreads group. If you just search Goodreads groups for the Once Upon a Read Along, and we have a Twitter. I always forget to link those down below too. But all you have to do is search for Once Upon a Read Along on Goodreads and Twitter, and we have a Goodreads group where all the books that we have planned out so far for next year are listed, and the Twitter we always announce the month before.
And I always do a video at the beginning of each month or the end of each month saying what the next month's book is going to be. And if you have any suggestions for books, make sure to tweet us at Once Read Along. We still need to fill up September, October, and December for this year. But other than that, we're good. And
I almost corrected you and said next year.
Nice.
Yes, I'm still in that, like, it's the beginning of the year stage, and I have no idea what year it is.
And right now we have 2 other book to movie adaptations, and then we have 1 TV to book adaptation.
Which is what?
I don't want to say it one more live. I'll tell you after.
Okay.
I always like to try and keep it a surprise until the live show.
They're all listed on the Goodreads if you really want to know.
I know, I saw that. And then we have a lot of exciting 2017 releases as well. But like I said, we still need to fill up September, October, and December. So let us know. Tweet us at Once Read Along.
Yes.
Okay,
all right.
So
in the chat before we go.
Thank you for reminding me.
Oh man, I obviously need some coffee.
Whoa. Okay. A lot of things popped up.
Oh wow. Okay.
Desiree says, I haven't read this book, but I'd like to. It was good.
Oh, good. You need to read it.
We should talk to Desiree about the different events that we have coming up this year too, by the way. Just as a reminder. Elizabeth says someone should make a bumper sticker that says, I have a problem because everyone has at least one small problem. My life. She also says that she wants to read More Than This by Patrick Ness. Okay, we have a new person. Devectra, I want to say that's her name. She says hi, and then she said she just finished a book. And I said, okay. I don't know. It just says a book, whether it's this book or just a book.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, congratulations on finishing a book. I hope it was this one.
And then Desiree says, I tried to post the group link, but it wouldn't let me. What?
What group link? I'm so
Desiree, I'm confused.
Well, I'll text you.
Yeah, text us. Tell us. We should get a Twitter group chat for the 3 of us so we can talk about different events that are going on.
Done.
Desiree, start the group chat for us.
All right, so that was everything from the chat?
Yeah, that's everything.
All right, then I guess we will sign off until next month.
February 5th.
Thank you to my lovely co-host, Chloe from the Brunette Bibliophile. Her link will be down in the description below. Definitely check her out. She's trying to get to 1K this year. Well,
1K. Well, when we get to 900, I have an awesome giveaway planned with lots of swag and signed books.
And to 1,000, there's going to be cake.
Well, yes, and when I get to 1,000, there's going to be cake, and I'm going to do a live show, and I'm probably going to cry. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Join the Brunette Bibliophile family.
Yay.
And let's get to 1,000 in 2017.
Yes.
I think I need 155 more.
Girl, you can do it. It's going to happen.
Let's do it.
And, what was I going to say? Oh, definitely make sure you read Ever the Hunted by Erin Summerall before our January month live show, which is February 5th. This channel, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for joining us to talk about the Monster Calls. And we will see you guys next month. Bye.
Bye.